Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to FRS Motorsports. I am Harry Zord, and we are here for PC Division 2 in Miami, which should be fun. Looking forward to it. I'm joined in the virtual commentary box once again by none other than Quimbulus. Quimbulus, how you doing?
Well, we're on the awesome back-to-back this week, so we had a fantastically exciting race in PC Division 3. There were some safety cars. There was quite a few shambles here and there, but also some great battling. I think Miami is proving to be a good circuit, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Div 2 has to offer in this one.
Yes, there was a real split in the Division 2 race between... There was a few drivers towards the back who were very much just ended up in a scenario where they were pitting for soft tires and going fastest lap a lot because this is a tricky track. And what we've seen from drivers setup-wise is that how low can you go on the wings means that it's a little bit difficult to keep the cars pointing in the right direction for 29 laps of this Miami Gardens circuit.
Looking forward to seeing how they get on. Of course, Coral is in the championship lead, 26 points the margin as it sits right now, 96 to 70. So it is a race win plus a fastest lap, just the difference between them and Dr. Zados. So should be interesting. Lord Volk has been getting in the mix the last couple of races, picking up that race win last time out, and nearly had the race win in Austin, aside from the late tire choices there that created quite an interesting finale to that one. So we will see. It is Miami. There is a chance of rain in this one, so we will just have to wait and see if the weather is a factor.
That would be just what we needed to spice things up even more here in PC Division 2. We've had a very entertaining season so far. We've had a number of drivers showing that they've got the pace to compete at the front. But we've also seen from more than one driver that it is very, very easy to make that crucial mistake that can throw all of that hard work and good pace down the drain. So hopefully everyone keep a point in the right direction this evening and keep it out of the barriers, because this is our first street circuit of the season, and the barriers will be there to punish any mistakes.
Yeah, most definitely. And, you mentioned the drivers throwing on soft tires at the end of the PC Division 3 race. If I'm not mistaken, Brad Spitt on the medium still took the fastest lap of the race. I don't think, did anybody on those softs actually take that fastest lap away, or were there just so many mistakes that nobody grabbed it?
I don't think so, but it's a good question. I don't think Brad Spitt is taking part. No, Brad Spitt is not racing in Division 2 anymore, it seems. Has moved to Division 3 permanently, but was here earlier in the season. It'll be Clone Richie alongside Bananarama in the Alfa Romeo car this evening, but this is all going to be about can anyone get on top of Coral, who is taking a commanding position into the second half of this PC Division 2 season.
Yeah, they've kind of been the class of the field, but it looks like the lobby is about ready, so I will actually send us to the intro that I did make sure to load the PC2 one as well. So, all yours.
There's a party in the city, but the heat is on for PC Division 2, who must catch championship leader Coral before he's lying on the beach till the break of dawn. Welcome to Miami and the Miami Gardens circuit. This 5.4 kilometer street circuit races round the Hard Rock Stadium here in Florida. 3 DRS zones for us to play with this evening, and a few interesting overtaking opportunities as well. Should mean that we're in for a very interesting race. This is only the second time the FRS has made multiple visits to one nation in a season, the last being Italy in season 4. Turn 11, one of the key spots on this circuit for the action. This is at the end of the long DRS straight, the back straight as it were, and then turn 17 at the end of the other back straight, once I make my mind up which one is which. This hairpin leads back out at the start-finish straight. Sort of downhill, easy for the cars to understeer through there, regardless of which tyre they're on. The soft being the fastest, the medium about 0.7 of a second slower. The hard is viable here and can do near enough the full race distance. So an early safety car could see a few drivers switching to that one really, really quickly. The championship position looks very, very good for Coral as we enter the second half of this season. The McLaren driver is a race win and a fastest lap clear of his nearest rival, Dr. Zados, in the Red Bull. Lord Volk's win last time out for AlphaTauri moves him up to 3rd in the championship. Milo isn't in play, I don't think, for Mercedes this week. And then Arc and Archduke and Stark are going to need a hell of a run of form to catch up the American at the top of the championship standings. Here we go, then time for qualifying, and we'll bring in Quimbulus for some Miami advice.
Well, keep it out of the barriers, as Arc nearly has a little bit of a kiss of the wall coming around through this Mickey Mouse section of the second kind of half of the lap, and we've seen a lot of mistakes. Turn 17, you pointed out, as one of the action zones. Easy to go deep in there. We've seen some drivers take the cutbacks and also just trying to be over-eager on power. It is a tricky kind of little rise and fall as you come through those last couple of corners, and you've seen too many drivers put their right foot down. It is a tricky circuit on the throttle, so that is where you're going to see a lot of individual spinners. We've actually already got yellow flags in the first sector, as it looks like Arc is going to be the first one to set a flying lap here.
Miami advice was my last reference, I promise. I've run out of them now. So we'll stick with the AlphaTauri on this first run. It's often Arc that we see in the early part of this session. Likes to get out onto the track and get that lap in first before there's any traffic issues later on. Try and get a banker on the board. So we're sweeping through Sector 1. This is a difficult set of corners. The long left-hander that leads out onto the back straight that's not quite straight. And the first DRS zone proper of the lap, because the other one comes into play sort of before the start-finish line technically. This is the one that leads down to the heavy braking zone at turn 11. And Arc is approaching that now, getting all the way over to the right-hand side before throwing it in, and we're into the twisty section now. This long right-hander is awkward. And then we get into a left before the left-right through the very twisty, horrible bit with the awkward curb. And then throw it to the right-hand side, carry as much speed as you dare, onto the back straight. This one very much like a drag strip. It's just a long straight line. DRS opens around about now. There's a couple of cars ahead of us that will need to be aware that Arc is approaching and will need to keep out the way. Looks like Archduke Oregano is going to hold all the way to the inside and does a good job of keeping out the way there. So Arc will have a clean run, almost, to complete that lap. Well, heart-in-mouth moment there for the AlphaTauri.
And that's that tricky on-throttle section that we talked about a little bit earlier. It's so easy to lose the back end. One thing I did note, as King Bart is going to set the first fast valid lap time, as there was that small mistake, was in the PC Division 3 race, we saw drivers hitting a VMAX of over 340 kph.
Problem, Dog. Dog is facing the wrong way. Gets a 5-place grid penalty for a collision with Lord Volk. Oh, and he's now reversed into the Mercedes of Stark as well. Dog is making a horrible mess of this. He's now got a 10-place grid penalty. And he's basically got the car. He's Austin powered the car basically in the middle of turn 12. And he's just unable to get it spun around. He's just about facing the right way now, but really messy moment there for Dog.
That's a tough one. Clone Richie goes to the top of the timing sheet. It's 28.6. And Bananarama is going to be next across the line, though. Just going to go up into P4. But easy to make mistakes in that second sector, and it's not a great way to start your qualifying session to already be staring down the barrel of 10 grid places.
Now, well, 10 places means the dog will almost certainly be towards the back of this field. At best, he'll be P11 if he was to take a pole position, which he has done. He is capable of. Garley pops up into P2, so it's an Alpine 2-3, but Cora across the line and takes provisional pole by 1/10 of a second. So the championship leader putting down his own marker in this early stage.
Archduke goes up into P6. Dan Gilligan is going to come through the middle sector, and there's a McLaren spun out.
It's Crusoe, yeah.
Gone around. Oh, and a little too much curb for Dan Gilligan, and that is the end of that qualifying lap.
So what we're seeing is when cars lose it in that twisty section, Dog has lost a car again on his next flying lap. So it's all happening here in the early stages. People struggling. I mean, this doesn't bode well for the race, does it? If we're getting shambles in qualifying, the race tends to go even more shambolic.
The optimist in me wants to say that drivers are pushing to the absolute limit in qualifying and they're getting all the mistakes out of the way now, but the FRS veteran in me says, yeah, probably not.
Here comes Stark down the back straight. 2 green sectors, but of course it's his first attempt, so we'd expect nothing less than that. Zados is on his first flying lap as well in the Red Bull. Needs a good weekend here, needs to finish ahead of Coral if he wants to properly challenge for this championship. Stark goes P8, about a second off the pace so far. We've got Coral on another run here, but he's not gone as quick in the middle sector, so I suspect we'll be abandoning this one.
Yep, into the pit lane he goes. We'll grab Zados now, who's coming through this tricky little middle bit, taking about as much of that painted curb as you can without invalidating the lap. Swinging wide and then up over the curbs, keeping it valid, and we'll see what their second sector split is going to be compared. A little kiss of the wall there, and they are up by nearly 4/10 on Coral's best time. Let's see what kind of VMAX they're getting down this back straight. Are they going with that low wing, or they sure are. They blast straight through 330 Ks all the way up to 346 before they hit the brakes down into turn 17. So look for Zados to be a real trouble to get past in the race.
Well, 346 is the fastest I've seen today while we've had the graphic up. Zados across the line and it is provisional pole by 7/10 of a second. Yeah. We want to talk about markers being laid down. That is a marker.
First one into the 27s and does so by over 2/10 of a second. That is indeed big. It doesn't look like anybody else is on a valid flying lap. Stark is working their way around. A couple drivers on their out lap, so we get a moment to breathe. But yeah, 346, I agree, is the highest we've seen today. We got up into the 340s with a couple of drivers in Div 3. We only saw Arc go to 330 on that back straight, so that may be a cause of concern if they've set up a little bit too much for downforce and not enough for the straight lines.
So we have a bit of a respite in the session. Lord Volk is just starting a quick lap, I believe. Is in Sector 1 in the AlphaTauri. Winner last time out in Silverstone, and probably an overdue winner, Lord Volk. You had the opportunity in Kota last time we were in the States, and we all know how close he came to winning that particular race. He is up on Zados in Sector 1, so we'll keep an eye on this lap as it progresses around. He's in the back straight down towards turn 11, DRS wide open, and looking to take the shortest line possible as Lord Volk throws the anchors on into turn 11. It's a long way through before we pick up the timing beam for Sector 2. It's at the exit of all of this twisty stuff before we really get an idea. So you can lose all sorts of time in this sector here. Lord Volk, as we come out of there, is 103.6, and that is almost a second down. So Zados, very, very strong in the middle sector.
And just checking the top speeds for the AlphaTauri. You see, it's just peaking 332, 335. That's a good 10 Ks down compared to what we saw from Dr. Zados in the Red Bull. It's about a second off the pace for Arc as well in the other AlphaTauri. We grab the Ferrari. Nope. We actually grabbed the Ferrari. It switched from 8th line, and I'm going to claim full responsibility for that commentator's curse.
Well played.
That is a don't tell Kana moment. We will instead grab this other, this Alpine, who has gone purple in the first sector. It is King Bart, who has not set their player name, which they're reminded to do constantly, but nobody ever does it. Luckily, we can kind of just cross-reference the main tower and figure it out, but looks to be going quite well. King Bart off and on the grid so far this season, a longtime FRS veteran. We're looking to see if they can turn in a good result here in PC Division 2.
Yeah, Alpine in a strong position here. P4 and P5, and Bart is immediately ruined that the moment I opened my mouth. And maybe we should just look at the cars in the pit lane. Milo has joined the session for Mercedes.
Well, hopefully he's taking a look at the setups that I've posted to the Mercedes chat and gets one of those loaded in. There is some time for him to get out and set a lap, but he is coming in very green, and it looks like he's just now pulling out of the pit lane, or that may be start. Keep an eye and see which returns to outlap. It is indeed Milo.
We're watching Cruzo just come out the final corner now. A little bit scrappy into there. Wasn't quite the sort of out-in-out line that we'd like, and he goes P12 in the McLaren. Dog has just had a moment that brought out a yellow flag. Dog currently 42.5 seconds off their pace, which is still faster than Nicholas Latifi, I think we can say. Cruzo spun the car, just watching him have another go, and thankfully have managed to avoid the Red Bull that was in his way. We've also lost, I think that's Archduke Oregano facing the wrong way again. We're currently watching Garley come down the back straight. 2 green sectors so far into the hairpin. Can Garley improve up into the top 3? There's a long way to go to catch Zados at the front. Garley across the line. It's P2. That is a good lap.
And Coral's gone purple in the first sector, so he's on a good lap. We'll see how he is compared to Zados. Has actually lost time in the middle sector, 0.2 down. And we know Zados was carrying some tremendous straight line speed, so unless Coral literally removes the wings from his car, I don't think he'll be making up 0.2 down a straight. Can do it under braking.
2 Alfa Romeos are following this. Bananarama's around a second and a half off the pace. Clone Richie's in 4th at the moment, hoping to improve. Here comes the championship leader across the line, and Coral stays 3rd. He's slower than Garley.
Did find a little bit of time, about 0.4 of a second, but is still just about a 0.5 off of Garley. Bananarama goes up into 9th place. And it looks like Dog is actually quite close to... you need to hit Shift 6 to get P16. He's only a 0.5 off of Dr. Zados' time through Sector 1. We'll see if he's going to manage to do it through Sector 2. One of the quicker drivers on track just needs to keep pointing in the right direction, and he will be challenging for race wins.
I was about to say, Dog, halfway through this season, has a pole position, maybe 2 pole positions to his name, does not have a point to his name. And would dearly love some of them if we can possibly get a hold of them. Hopefully we'll have a clean race today. Hopefully, as he goes 37.3 seconds up on his previous best, do Sector 2. I mean, that is rapid pace. It has to be said.
We'll see how he can do through the final couple of sectors. The auto removal of the timer, just because of the delta to the best lap, is a little off for Dog, so we will just keep an eye on him. I know he's on a good lap. As it ticks 27.28, going to be a 28.7, goes 41 seconds faster and goes up into P5.
That's an interesting one for Riemann to pick up. Normally, it's when you're outside of a window, sort of slower, it would cut your time off there. Turns out if you're going that much faster, it'll cut your time off as well. There you go. The thing is, you learn. Zados is not improving this time around. That feels to me like Zados. You know when you sometimes just... I call it... It's a phenomenon I've got. Certainly when I've been racing in GT Series, and even when I raced in Division 6 back in Season 3, I used to call it the Zord's Magic Lap, where I will suddenly just do one amazingly special lap, like Milo's just done there, on no practice to go P4, but I could do 80 laps of practice and be absolutely nowhere, and then all of a sudden, one of those laps I'll just hook up and it'll be absolutely perfect. And it's, can you land that in a qualifying session? Riemann across the line and is P7. Well, Milo, that is impressive. Whatever setup he found, straight into P4.
That's a very good lap from Milo. Clone Richie is going to duck into the pit lanes. We do have a Ferrari who has set a purple first sector. That's Ruprath going well in the first sector. We'll see if they can keep it up through the second sector split here. Right on about 55 seconds. Taking a good chunk of curb. You can see those tires lifting off the ground as they turn. Riemann has actually gone personal best and ahead of Zados in the first section. He's lost some time in the second sector, but just 0.2 the gap to the provisional pole, and will put him just right up on the front row if it is just that 0.2 of a margin.
Ruprath was quick in the PC Division 3 race that just happened, but he did have a few moments that meant that he finished sort of, relatively speaking, well down the order, but he's got a lap in him. And the Ferrari driver comes across the line and goes P8. That is very respectable indeed. He's about a second off the pace, though, so not challenging right up at the very front. Unlike this man in the Red Bull. Sorry, this is Riemann But Riemann is challenging right up towards the front because he's within that second. So, there you go. Don't yell at me.
Yeah, he's a personal best in the first sector, not improving in the second. I think he'll probably bail out of this lap based on where he is, and indeed goes towards the pit
if he
lane.
If he bails out now, then he's got time to get another set of tyres on and have one more go. Driver on the track at the moment is Ark, who is improving for AlphaTauri.
And this qualifying session has indeed flown by the 18 minutes, and all of a sudden I look up and it's 2.5 left. So yeah, diving into the pit lane, probably the right move for Riemann there to get a new set of tires on. We should see quite a lot of traffic at the end. Can Ark improve through these final couple of corners? Should be in the 28s. Does indeed go P5. Dan Gilligan, yet to set a valid lap time, is only a 10th off of Zados through the Sector 1.
We've got Stark just starting a lap for Mercedes. Incredible that all these admins haven't got their player name on. We need to have a word with them. But we're currently watching the Williams driver, Mr. Gilligan himself. Can he improve on P last as we get towards the end of this session in Miami? Throws it through 14, 15, and 16. And then he's 1.2 seconds up on his previous best. That is a hell of an improvement. If he keeps this up, he's on for a place in the top 4 or 5, actually, if he can keep this sort of pace up. This is a remarkable lap from the Williams driver. Can he get the anchors on? He's a little bit beyond the apex, but you probably won't lose too much time doing that. 18 and 19 are flat out. Keep the closest run to the line you can. It's P7. That's a good time from Dan Gilligan.
Yeah, definitely a strong lap, and well, that's interesting timing. We'll go ahead and move off of that, as it looks like Stark is either glitched out or stuffed it in the wall, but it doesn't appear to be a good time for them. Golly, threading their way through traffic on a personal best for the first sector. I think that's going to hurt them in the second sector. Zados, again, not improving through the first sector, and has had one of, as you say, the Zord's magic lap, but golly, on for a magic lap. Just a 10th in it. Has managed to navigate that traffic well and is on to maybe take a provisional pole away. Can he get a little bit of slipstream off the Mercedes? Stark dives out of the way. And into the braking zone for turn 17 goes the Alpine. Takes a fair bit of curb there. Gets the car rotated. Throttle is wide open now through the final right-hander. Short the line to the... I can speak totally, but does go into the 27s, but not fast enough to take pole. Misses by just a 10th.
A 10th shy, not good enough. Coral's on an outlap. We've got a few drivers on quick laps now, including Dog in the hat, who spun it and into the wall. So we've caught Dog. I caught Dog at a wrong time on my screen. He won't improve. Bananarama we're looking at now, who's found a few tenths on his own personal best. Going to challenge for the top 10 here in the Alfa Romeo. It's P10 exactly for Bananarama, but his times are coming in thick and fast. Archduke Oregano is next. Across the end of Sector 2, he has found about 6 tenths on his own personal best. He's about half a second down. Tracking like that could be good enough for the top 5. He's only really got one more corner to go from here. It'll all depend on his straight line speed. It's 2 green sectors for Cruzo, 2 green sectors for Stark, 2 green sectors for Archduke Oregano, who comes out of turn 18 and turn 19 across the line. It is P6 for the Aston Martin.
Good improvement as he takes a checkered flag. Cruzo's going to be next across the line. Only improves by the 1 position ahead of Stark. Stark is 1.1 off of the provisional pole. That will put them kind of in the 28-9 range. So that would put them up towards P10, 11, 12 if he can maintain it through these last couple of corners.
Stark really seems to be struggling today. He's into the final corner now. Clone Richie's going well with a couple of personal bests just behind us. Millo's not done a personal best in the middle sector. Here comes Stark across the line for Mercedes. It's going to be P13 at best for the Mercedes driver.
Clone Richie next across the line goes up into P3. A tremendous lap from Clone Richie there. Coral, 2 personal bests across the line is not going to be enough to improve in the final sector. Pinashiro goes up into 12th as it looks like the Red Bull of Riemann has also jumped up to 9th.
Yeah, Coral is on the front row. Here comes Lord Volk, and Lord Volk goes up to P6. AlphaTauri setting identical times.
I think that's just about it for everybody because Ark is done with their lap. They've got the rear light on. They don't appear to be improving. Yeah, they're already at minute 47, so they're on their in-lap. And, well, the 2 AlphaTauris, identical times. Surely very well matched pair of drivers then.
Well, whatever setup they're using, that's how fast it can go.
Indeed, but Zados with the Zord's Magic Lap set that 27.8 early, and it ended up holding up. Coral got close with a 27.9, as did Gali, but just less than a tenth between the top two, and another 300ths between P2 and P3.
Yeah, as you say, Zados set that lap immediately, and he couldn't even beat it himself, but importantly, neither could anybody else, as Dr. Zados takes pole for the Miami Grand Prix for Red Bull. The top two in the championship are the top two on the grid. Gali was fast and in play here. Clone Richie was also fast and is in play for this race as well. Milo in fifth, and then Lord Vulcan Arc with identical times for AlphaTauri. That's sort of a remarkable thing as we see it. Archduke Oregano in eighth. Dan Gilligan with an impressive run to P9. And he was just 1,000th of a second quicker than Raymond in P10. Dog has a 10-place grid penalty, so he'll line up at the back, which means it's Bananarama in 11th, Penachiro in 12th. Then Ruprath, Stark, King Bart, Cruzo, and of course the Haas of Dog will line up in 17th place. Good session.
Yep, good session. Quite a few spinners we saw. Hopefully that was people getting it out of their system and is not an indication for what is going to go on. It was bright and sunny in qualifying, so we will just have to wait and see if weather is going to show up in the hurricane alley of the United States down there in Florida. We've not seen as much rain as I think we've seen more rain in the Austin races than we saw in Miami.
I would describe it as overcast. I would describe it as very, very overcast. It's not raining at the moment from the pictures I'm seeing, but it is grey. And maybe that means it will be great entertainment for us over the course of the next 45 minutes or so. We saw 3 safety cars in the PC Division 3 race, and a virtual safety car as well, for that matter. So it's all to play for here. We've got, is it 17 cars now on the grid? So it's a nice full grid as well. Strategy is going to be all important. Hard tyres that can go the full distance, they won't be that good if it rains. We're about to start on the formation lap. Predictions for this one.
I mean, Coral's in a great spot in P2, but I mean, he's got his championship challenger, Dr. Zados, right there. Tire-wise, Dan Gilligan, King Bart, and Dog, the only ones opting for the medium tires. Everybody else on hards. Okay. I've been impressed by...
Oh, was it raining? No, it's a bit of graphical glitch on the advert there in the background. I thought it was raining. What I'm seeing from the strategy there is everyone is using the hard tires, and they're going to run them until it rains.
It seems like a decent choice. I'm interested to keep an eye on Milo, though. That, you know, with only setting the one lap, coming in very green, I think they may be getting quicker and quicker as this race goes on, as they get kind of bedded into the race. We'll see how they can do out of 6th place. Stark is very much out of position compared to where they normally are, so they have an opportunity to try and come through the field, as does Dog. But lots of white wall tires at the start of this grid.
As we've said before, qualifying means very, very little, and it seems like it might be that way again today here in Miami as we get ready to start the Miami Grand Prix in PC Division 2. It's a lights out and away we go, and Zados seems to get a good getaway. Coral bogged down a little bit there on the inside, so it's going to be Gali challenging him on the outside as we go into turn 1. There's a very late break in Aston Martin that's going to be facing the wrong way, and there's a little bit of trouble there. I think most people managed to avoid it, but Zados leads. Gali has got through and up into 2nd position for Alpine. Milo is up to P4 using the grip of those soft tyres, and then Arc is up into 5th place. Poor start for Lord Volk in the other AlphaTauri. He's down to P9. Stark's gained a couple of places as well, I think, but otherwise it was a pretty clean start.
Yeah, just that little bit of contact between the Aston Martin there. Not a huge issue, as it looks like Pinashiro's getting shuffled down, which does happen on lap 1 here. You get a little wrong-footed, and King Bart and Stark still kind of holding position. Clone Richie making a move past Arc on the exit there, as I think we might be seeing the trouble that the AlphaTauris could be in if they've got that very much higher downforce setups. But Milo and Clone Richie side by side, this is where you really want to sort it out. It's not a place to go two abreast, and they do get it sorted out almost just about in time. We're going to grab King Bart and Stark as they are dueling significantly. A little slow exit from Bananarama ahead means they are just line astern, rubbing nose to tail through that, and I think we've pretty much just about survived.
We were 3 wide at various stages there at the back between King Bart, Stark, Dog, Riprath. They were all involved. They've just about got it settled down, but Zados leads them away. We've got a challenge there from Cruzo going wide, and King Bart going over left Bananarama around and into the wall. Bananarama is facing the wrong way. Cruzo spun round as well. We got Shambles at the back. As Dr. Zados leads, a couple of cars facing the wrong way. I don't think it's going to generate a safety car. That's Clone Richie actually facing the wrong way at the back of the field.
Yeah, just got a little bit too much on throttle there. It looks like it kind of got Dog is into the pit lane. Pinocchio and Dog unfortunately caught up in that one. We'll jump back up as it looks like Dan Gilligan really putting the pressure on Lord Volk side by side through this quick switchback section, leaving about enough space, and Dan Gilligan just about getting ahead this time.
Really good stuff. Look at the gap that Zados has got up at the front. He's about 2 seconds clear of Gali already, which means that Gali is going to be concerned about those behind, as is Bananarama, by the way, because he's under heavy pressure from King Bart already on lap 2 of this race.
King Bart looking outside, inside, trying to see if he can find a way through using that slipstream. Is he going to go late on the brakes? He's going to be late, and there's contact nose to tail. I think that's pushed him a little bit wide as Stark and Ruprath are going at it now. And Ruprath is just ahead of Stark. Stark managed to get up to 11th place now. Looks like he managed to actually avoid those shambles in the final corner. It did happen just ahead of him, but he managed to sneak through relatively safely.
King Bart is all over the back of that Alfa Romeo. He's clearly got some pace in that Alpine. The Alpine's going well here. Gali running up as high as P2 for the French team. But at the moment, Zados is dropping them all. It's Verstappen-esque.
Oh,
as
contact
Lord
into the wall was
Gilligan.
Dan Gilligan as he tried to go around the outside. I think he's just about made wheel face contact to the wall, so I think he's managed to keep that wing intact. DRS now enabled, but looks like Dan tried to go the long way around the outside. Now goes up the inside of the AlphaTauri. Has got to make good use of those medium tires, and they continue to. Oh, he's just about closed the door. And
yeah, it was a little bit rude, that one. A little bit rude from the Williams. I was looking on board from the AlphaTauri there, and he cut him off a little bit on the entrance to 3. But they'll both live to fight another day. And a good fight between those two. Ruprath and Stark are still going at it. Hammer and Tong, the Ferrari and the Mercedes, and that's Archduke Oregano, who's having a, much like Stark, having an unusually poor day in these early stages. Stark run a little bit wide there and is going to be under pressure now from the Aston Martin.
Yeah, another thing I was noticing is the rear light was on the Ferrari of Ruprath, so he's been pushing hard. Lord Volk reattacking Dan Gilligan. Ruprath has slipped behind both Stark and Archduke Oregano into the sharp corner of turn 11. And it is hard
what
to
was
point
going on with
cameras
Ruprath there? He was so slow on the straight.
Well, he was leading.
They breezed past him.
He was leading that little group, so he didn't have DRS available to him. But he may also just be running a higher downforce setup.
Well, the other thing is he's totally out of battery.
We'll pull up the telemetry, see what kind of VMAX he can get. But yeah, even the Red Bull just sending it by. He's only, with the DRS open, hitting in a slipstream just about 310, 312. He's got no battery left. That's a good chunk of horsepower that can help out with the VMAX there. And yeah, that's not a lot of straight line speed, and he's just mincemeat on the straight, isn't he? To those coming through. Meanwhile, there's a fight going on for P8. I think King Bart has finally got past Bananarama into turn 1. Didn't quite get it switched in time. Hit the wrong number because it's one next to each other. It is getting close up between Coral and Gali again, though. They're just about to hit the DRS zone, but it looks like Gali's just about keeping arm's length away from Coral in this one. It's gone up to about 0.8 of a second. It is getting very interesting with Riemann, Ruprath, Archduke, and Stark. They are very close to each other. Pinocchio on those fresher medium tires setting the fastest lap of the race. Clone Richie doing the same as they've had to make stops for damage.
Gali had also found about half a second there as the AlphaTauri switched places. I imagine that was a synchronized switch from Lord Volk and Ark. But yeah, Gali found a little bit of time to Zados. We're watching the fight between Riemann, Archduke Oregano, and Stark as they come through the twisty back end of the circuit. and onto the back straight. But it's all settling down a little bit. AlphaTauri going strongly in P5 and P6, and they're in play should the chaos ensue here. But Coral wants to make a move on Gali, I think. But he's not really he doesn't really seem to have the outright pace that we've seen from him at other points of this season.
No, seems to be struggling just a little bit in this one. But is still hanging on to those podium positions. It is, something he's going to have to maintain that gap as it gets to the end of this season, as Archduke Oregano just didn't quite have the last little bit of top-end speed to get past Stark up towards the points-paying positions. Pinichero's closing up on Dog towards the back. He's not going to be quite in range to make a move. We will pull up the lovely, lovely weather report. As you mentioned, the clouds are in and out, and if this race does see some safety cars and go long, we may get into the danger of a little bit of rain at the 45-minute mark. So we could.
I think with that much rain, I think the strategy here might actually be to just run the hard tires and then make sure you've got a set of softs on at the end, because whether there'll be enough rain to actually force the intermediate tire will remain to be seen. If it's going to be that late in the day, just a fairly sticky set of softs might do you well. That was doing it on the brakes.
Oh, and a secondary collision, and Ruprath has gotten into it as well, so 3 cars all colliding. Stark just getting, and that's a full safety car for all that debris on the track. So the car.
Well, it was an open goal for Cruzo. Cruzo arrived on the scene. It was happy days, but that is a safety car, and it was basically just Archduke Oregano too late on the brakes, and he just straight up ran at the back of Stark. Thankfully, no one's been eliminated from the race for that one. Stark, I'm just waiting to see if he's got any damage. We're looking at the front. Zados opts against pitting. All those on the hard tires aren't going to box, I don't think.
I doubt it. I think we'll have to keep an eye on Riemann and Ruprath, who would definitely have to make a stop. They kind of had their strategies messed with it. Dan Gilligan and Bananarama are both in, as Bananarama picks up a 5-second for speeding, and very tentative is Riemann into the pit lane, as you would expect.
Yeah, but gonna do that. That's under a safety car. There's no reason to pick up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
Stark is into the pit lane, so they may have had some damage, even though they got hit. Ruprath is on the wet.
Yeah, there's a new wing there.
Ruprath
is the wet tire. Yeah, that's the wet tire.
So, a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
I mean, does that count as using 2 separate tires? Dog there with a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. No need to do it under the safety car. But there we have it. So Ruprath in the Ferrari will come back on the circuit on the wet tire.
Now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it has to be 2 dry compounds. 2 different dry compounds that are run. It only gets credit for wet if the track is declared wet. Now,
there's a harbor there we could use.
It's a real one, too. Now, granted, if Ruprath comes back around, puts on a set of hard tires, and it rains in the last lap, and is declared wet, he will only have needed to use those hard compound tires. I think.
Interesting. But why would you not just put a set of softs on if you were going to do this, and then pit again? Why put the wets on?
Absolutely no idea. Unless he's planning on maybe using a set of softs at the end, in which case put on the medium. I don't know. My brain is apparently not big enough to figure this one out. It seems just very dangerous to drive around on these wets that will, even under safety car conditions, get very hot on a completely dry track. And we've already seen mistakes being made under safety cars, as Ruprath has a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane for no real reason. But I guess we'll just have to find out what Ruprath is going on.
I mean, the smart thing to do for Ruprath here is to pit, which means he'll be able to serve the 5-second penalty, and he's going to do exactly that. No surprise.
But now he needs to not speed on the way in again, which he does. Maybe he's got some people sitting in the harbor that are just going to throw buckets of water over the fence and keep those tires cool.
Now we're going to go with the medium tire.
See, that's an interesting choice. They can go about 20 laps, so when the race goes back to green, maybe he'll be able to stretch it to the rain in the end. It'll be close. Now, the other question is, with 2 pit stops, is the safety car even going to wait for drivers like Ruprath, Dog, and Clone Richie to catch the pack before they go back to green flag racing?
Well, Dog's going to serve his penalty now in the pits. I mean, that's a sensible thing to do under the safety car. You should just get that served so you don't have to deal with it. But he does have some work on to catch the back of the pack, as you say. Clone Richie's into the pits as well.
Medium tires
so it's a
and
little
a
bit
new wing for him.
It's a little bit shambolic at the back. Up at the front, I mean, Zados has been cruising. A couple of seconds clear. Now, Ark seems to be facing the wrong way. No, Ark's dropped a couple of positions.
Ark seems to be lagging a bit.
Yes.
I think, though, Cruzo has let him back past. So I think that's about sorted. May have had just a lag spike there. He seems to be fine now on the screen. There was just that one big twitch. But
well, there's been no sign that says the safety car's coming in this lap. So I think we're going to go around... Nope. The lights are out on the safety car as far as I can see. Are they? Are they on? Who knows? God knows what's happening.
They appear to be on. I've not seen the message that the safety car is in this lap yet. So we will continue around. And the safety car is indeed still out on the track. So it does look like they will do at least one more lap to let the pack try and catch up.
I don't know what's happening. And that makes it a classic FRS race. King Bart's had a good race so far. He's come from the back end of the grid up to P6. He's on the medium tyre. That medium tyre, if everyone's running the hard tyre as long as they can until it rains, obviously Bart won't be able to do that. So are you maybe surprised he didn't use this safety car opportunity to box?
I think it would have been an ideal opportunity for King Bart to come in. His Ark and Archduke are kind of swapping places around. I think still not sure where they need to be. Maybe a little bit of connection issue for Ark. It's been kind of back and forth. But yeah, I would think that King Bart probably should have come in for the hard tires. If I was sitting in that seat, it's probably what I would have done. I did start my race on the medium tires, and it's what I would have expected to do if there was a safety car at this point. You could easily get the hards to the end with decent pace and have a little bit of a tire offset to those on the hards around. I guess it really comes down to what you think the weather's going to do, how early you think the rain is going to come. Because while we are under safety car conditions, we'll get another little update. The sharp end of the rain, the first early bit, has now moved to about 30 minutes out. So it's a little sooner than the last anticipated one, if they've checked with their drivers. Although I don't think Jeff gives you much more than 15 minutes notice.
Come on, Jeff, get your act together.
Well, actually, it's not Jeff anymore, it's Mark.
Ah, sorry, Mark.
I feel bad for Jeff
Mark.
because everybody is still blaming Jeff for all the things that go on, and Jeff is retired.
Safety car in this lap. I was just about to say that we hadn't had that pop-up. So we'll be underway racing again soon. Dog and Clone Richie have managed to catch the back of the pack. So everyone is in play for this safety car restart, and we have Cruzo there as the Kimi Raikkonen refusing to weave as everybody else weaves to get heat into those hard tyres, ready for this restart. It's Zados at the front who will lead us away. When do you put the hammer down? It looks like it is now. Zados is gone, and he's got the jump on Garly by a long, long stretch.
Yeah,
Zados leads him away. Garly and Coral about to be neck and neck at turn one. Coral goes to the inside. Doesn't get the move done. Garly sticks it out and holds on to P2 for now.
And Milo just looking at the back of that fight is closing up to the back of Coral as they work through. Looks like Dog has had an off through turn one. There's local yellows. He seems to be going once again, though. So a very short yellow flag. We'll check in a minute, see if he's picked up any damage. But Zados already 1.1 seconds ahead of Garly, so he's really just taken off at this restart.
Dan Gilligan's on the inside of Riemann here as they come through the long left-hander. Just about not hitting each other on the exit. That was close as anything. And now they're giving each other plenty of room down the long back straight. Who's going to blink first? They're weaving left, they're weaving right. Penichiro's in trouble from Stark behind this fight as well. And Stark looks to have that place gained. And is late on the brakes and hits Dan Gilligan, does he? Not quite, maybe. There was not a great angle to tell.
Looked like there may have been a little bit of contact, but he did jump the curb and tried to minimize that impact.
Oh, that is Cruzo facing the wrong way and dropping to P12.
And up towards the front, looks like King Bart has slotted past Lord Volk down the straight. Lord Volk, though, tucking into the slipstream, going to try and have a re-attack on the brakes. One thing with that extra downforce is you can brake a little bit later, and it is very late on the brakes, nose to tail, but just about avoiding contact with each other as Archduke Oregano is right there in the mix as well. Cruzo looking to the inside of Dan Gilligan and just about has that move covered off as Stark still getting shuffled kind of backwards in this race.
Zados has just immediately re-established that 2-second gap that he had over Gali. He's just nicked off again at the front, and it's back to the status quo we had earlier on. It's all kicking off in the midfield still while they all jostle for position. And it's interesting on the strategy because we are still all on the hard tires and waiting as Stark goes round the outside of Cruzo. And Cruzo's round. Cruzo's facing the wrong way.
It looks like Penishiro went to try and go through as well. He was right there trying to follow Stark through, and I think there's just a coming together between the two of them. It looks like they've both kept it out of the walls. No damage on the Aston Martin from what I can tell, and no damage on the McLaren, so it looks like we are all as we were. But King Bart right on the back of Milo, who is starting to lose a little bit of touch with Coral ahead.
Yeah, King Bart is the driver on the move right now, and it continues to be a strong day for the Alpine team, of which I would say this season, so far, they've not had too many of those. So that's reassuring for the boys in blue, unlike the other teams that are all in blue. Anyway, Milo has to defend this one because King Bart is in the slipstream. He doesn't have the DRS yet, and also what should be said about the Alpine, he is a little bit low on the old battery.
Oh, and just about nearly gets into the back of Milo. But yeah, you mentioned the boys in blue are having a good day in 1st, 2nd, 5th, 6th, 8th, 10th, 11th.
There's plenty of them, right? They're doing better than the boys in red, who are having less good of a time. It's still Coral stuck up behind Gali for P2. And I mean, Zados would take this from a championship perspective. A win and Gali splitting himself and Coral. He needs to gain as many points as he can in a short period of time as he can as we watch Riemann and Bananarama close together as we come through the twisty bit of Sector 1.
Yellow flag local, that's just Penishiro around at the back, has made a bit of a mistake. Up towards the front, though, King Bart on the move again in the Alpine. Although, it seems even with the DRS, that Mercedes is pulling away a little bit from the Alpine.
Well, Miller's got the DRS as well, it must be said. He got within a second of Coral through Sector 1 there. So that's scuppered King Bart's attempt on this particular lap. And there's a bit of a DRS train all the way back to Riemann, who is in P10. Before we get the gap to Dan Gilligan, there's the first 3-second time penalty of the day for Ruprath in the Ferrari.
Yeah, Milo's fallen just outside of that 1-second mark from Coral. Was it close enough at the detection? No, he does not have DRS. And now even with low battery, King Bart in the slipstream with the DRS open. It's just staying right at about a 10th of a second. He swings to the inside.
Milo's going to stick it out. Lord Volk's in there as well. It was all a little bit clumsy. It's a clumsy corner, that one, actually. We're trying to make overtakes. And Milo remains in front, but there's another DRS zone down towards turn 1 as we start lap 12.
It's been very close between Milo and King Bart in this one. Looks like Milo's gone a little bit deep. King Bart's had to check up, and now they're just running line astern as Ark and Lord Volk and Archduke Oregano are going to start getting attached to this fight. It's really getting interesting in this one. Coral is about as close as he's been. We'll jump to that battle as they enter the DRS zone. It's about as close as he's been to Gali over the last couple of laps, just about 6-7 tenths of a second now, although looks like Gali's getting the exit off of that corner quite well and has moved it back to about 8 tenths.
Just behind that fight, if Milo, as he claimed, had done no practice before this race, this is an impressive run, but he's under pressure from King Bart and Lord Volk. We got an option for 3 wide here. King Bart to the inside, Lord Volk thinks better of it. We've also got Archduke Oregano just behind this. It's all kicking off. Milo is still holding the place. King Bart on the inside now, though, and gets through up into P4.
Yeah, smart from Milo to just kind of back out of that one and not push it too hard. Bananarama looks like he's been ushered over the curbing and has picked up the instant 5-second time penalty as Dog is out of this session. And that's going to generate a full safety car.
There it is. Now Cruzo is cutting across the runoff area. I was just trying to get a look at Dog's car, which is missing a wheel, and unfortunately for Dog, it's another no-point score.
Just got a little loose through that corner and around. King Bart has picked up speeding in the pit lane penalty, is up at the front. He's obviously going to get off of those medium tires. Everybody on the hards has stayed out. Riemann is in, or rather Bananarama is in. The only other one to make a pit stop as Zados is getting picked up as the race leader here. But that was really kicking off there. And then...
Yeah, when are we opening the doors to Zordon Quimby's school of not speeding in the pit lane under safety car conditions? When are we opening that school?
Will they ever listen? I feel like I've had...
They're all doing it.
I feel like I've had the Xbox Division 1 school of show up and start the race on time open for 6 seasons now, and still nobody's learned that lesson yet. So maybe I'm not the best teacher. Maybe it's me. But yes, to answer your question, you guys, you're under safety car conditions. Be gentle into the pit lane. There's no need to speed. There's nothing to be gained.
To King Bart, onto the hard tyre. We've got the 2 Alfa Romeos going for the soft tyre. I mean, another safety car brings that threat of rain into play later in the race.
We have still sitting right about that 30-minute expected mark, but high percentage chance of rain, 88%. It does look like it falls off quick, so we'll see. We don't really have a whole lot of data on how quickly the Miami track wets up and how quickly it dries back down when the rain stops. So it is going to be the old adage, be on the right tire at the right time, I think. And we will see who makes that right call.
So will Zados be able, do you reckon, to just drop the hammer again and re-establish that 2-second lead? He seems to be in the zone today.
He's driving fantastically. I mean, surrounded by cars on same aged tires, same compound, so no reason why he can't do it again. And of course, he's got all this time under safety car to get that battery recharged again. That's going to really help out the drivers who were struggling with battery, as it looks like Riemann is now into the pit lane. A little late, is going to get off of those medium tires. We'll see what they opt for. Bananarama and Clone Richie, interestingly enough, onto a set of softs, although it looks like Bananarama is back into the pits once again. So we'll keep an eye out and see how that shakes out, as we've only got the 1 retirement so far, but there has been 2 safety cars.
2 drivers now in the soft tyre, as we've got all sorts of stuff going on. The Alfa Romeo seem to be pitting every single lap, so there's some sort of shenanigans going on there. It's the Hinwil team. But up at the front, I mean, the top 4 really have been status quo all the way through. Milo definitely doesn't have the pace to live with Gali and Coral, and Gali and Coral really don't have the pace to live with Zados from what we've seen so far in the first 13 laps.
Yeah, and I think also as you work your way a little further down, Milo seems to have a little bit more straight line speed in the setup. The Alpha Tauris we noted in qualifying, not the quickest in the speed traps. So I'm thinking Milo might be hoping that Lord Vogt can dice with Archduke Oregano a little bit and just use that little bit of straight line advantage to just stay ahead and hold down a nice P4 position. Stark is up into 9th at least at this point, so the Mercedes recovering a bit. Dan Gilligan in 8th is also having a decent day as well. But Clone Richie and Bananarama, they had a tough day, as we covered last time out at Silverstone. They seem to be off the track quite a lot, and here they are at the back of the grid. But we're still just about the halfway mark of this race, still half this race left to go, and the fortunes can turn at any point.
I've not seen the safety car in this lap pop up, so I think we'll be going round again for another lap.
Yeah.
Behind Björn Mylander there.
Yeah, it looks like Clone Richie hadn't yet reattached to the pack, so wasn't quite in position to call it in just yet. Clone Richie already on 5 stops in 14 laps, so some kind of record.
That's impressive. That's good numbers. So we've just ticked over beyond the halfway point, have we? No, about halfway around this lap, we'll be at the halfway point. We don't hand out anything halfway through. There's a long way to go in this race. We've only lost Dog so far, but we've seen a few little incidents here and there. But for all those drivers we've been singing the praises of, they've not done the job yet. They've got to keep the concentration up. It only takes one mistake to throw it all away.
And Clone Richie and Bananarama are in the pits again. So we're up to 6 and 4 stops. So 10 pit stops for the Alfa Romeo. Wow, there's too many A teams. You got the blue teams and the A teams. It just hurts my brain. But 10 stops in 15 laps for the team. their crew is getting practice in. They should have like a 2.1 second stop by the time this one's over.
Are they trying to train their pit crew up or something? I'm not really sure what's going on there between the two Alfa Romeos. But hopefully they're not extending this safety car period by not latching onto the back of the pack. I imagine because... Oh, Cruzo's out. Cruzo's dropped it under safety car. Well.
It gets more interesting as we continue. Now, the pack is caught up. I think it won't extend the safety car. I think they'll get Cruzo's car cleared relatively quickly. It is about midway down this straight that we find out if the safety car is coming in. And indeed, safety car is in this lap, and there's still that orange dot on the map, and there it goes. It is gone. So we'll catch up with the leader again and see when, once again, Dr. Zados gets to restart this race.
Not Cruzo's finest moment. That one.
Nope.
There we go. We'll be back underway shortly. It'll be Zados in the Red Bull to lead them away once again. Gali is trying to keep close, but is mainly worried about Coral behind. We're away again. Zados leads them away, and again, he's got the jump. He just seems to be accelerating off the last corner, so it seems like he's just got so much more traction than Gali. At the exit of turn 17, Gali thinking about defending from Coral. Got a yellow flag at the back, and that is Riemann out of the race. Before we even made it to the start line.
Now, I think with the pack as caught up as it is and clumped and it's off the back, they probably will only call local yellow. It hasn't called a safety car or a VSC yet, so I think we will continue racing as...
Oh, and that's Clone Richie.
They're off the circuit. Local yellows, that dot is moving, but up at the front, Zados already 1.4 seconds in the lead of this race. As Coral
he's just dominating.
And Gali are really going to have a big fight on their hands. Milo, Lord Volk, Archduke Oregano, Arc, Dan Gilligan.
Here comes Coral. Here comes Coral to the outside of Gali for P2 as we come down to turn 11. Leaves plenty of room, but he's still there. The McLaren driver, he's going to get this done, is he? Gali's still there on the outside, and he's got the inside line now. 4:13 off the circuit is Coral. He's going to try and send it all the way round. Cuts across the curb, and he's muscled his way through.
Oh, and
up into second position.
And Gali almost put Milo into the wall there, sweeping out to open the corner. I think, wow, there's really no way to go side by side in that one. I'm sure Coral probably got a track limits warning for being out wide, but Milo now looking to try and get past Gali. And, well, Zados has
wide in the background.
3 seconds. Oh,
there's carnage. It's Gali. Gali's facing the wrong way, and there's carnage in the back of the field. And that's into the pits comes Arc. We've now got 4-5 cars wide. What is happening?
To get rejoined to this as it is just an absolute melee of cars down into turn. This looks like lap one, and there's contact. They've all tangled up. Damage to the Aston Martins. Nobody yielded. Everybody went into turn one, 5 cars wide, and nobody thought to slot in. Dan Gilligan has gone off track and gained a position. Has picked up.
Ruprath has got no front wing. I think one of the Aston Martins has got no front wing. I think Dan Gilligan may be struggling for front wing parts. No, he's okay.
Snap of oversteer, and we do have local yellows as Ruprath going slowly. But wow.
What on earth was that?
Well, Gali had a half spin coming out of turn 17. Is Lord Volk is going to maybe go at Milo here? Not quite, but had that half spin out of turn 17 and then sideways and just kind of turned into a melee as everybody had to check up as the car wasn't ghosted. Dan Gilligan's getting past Stark a little bit further back, has made their way through, but wow, that was something.
So that all kicked off with Gali making a mistake. Gali spun at turn 17 and was basically parked across the apex of the corner. One of the Aston Martins ran into him, which I think was Archduke Oregano, and then it was a melee. We've got Lord Volk coming to the inside of Milo, and this is for P3, and he's a bit late on the brakes, and there's contact between the pair of them. That was clumsy. Milo hangs on.
And Stark and Dan Gilligan still fighting it out. Tire differential mediums and hards for Stark and Dan Gilligan respectively. And, well, the sky's getting a little bit dark looking now, isn't it?
Yeah, Bananarama's up in P6 on those fresh, soft tires. Freshest soft tires, I would say. Dan Gilligan's late on their brakes. And he's just about kept it hung on. They're side by side through 2 and 3, but Stark looks to have the place claimed now.
He's getting the elbows out, but it will go right back to the DRS zones. We'll jump up to this fight again for the last podium position. Milo and Lord Volk dueling with each other.
Half a second between them. DRS opens for Lord Volk. It's very overcast now, isn't it? You have to say, here at Miami Gardens. Milo looking to break the toe. Lord Volk, is he going to send it? No, not this time. So Bananarama, who has made 4 pit stops, is now in 6th position.
And Clone Richie with 6 pit stops is getting close to points. So it's definitely turned into a very interesting one. I hope it doesn't turn into a Div 3 where if you have all 4 wheels attached, you're going to score points. It would require 4 more retirements, but according to the weather, 10 minutes out.
Here's Lord Volk again down the inside as we come up into turn 17, and this time it looks like he's got the move done, but he's gone wide. And Milo with the up and under, and he's back through again. This is remarkable defense from Milo in the Mercedes.
Archduke Oregano sneaking past Dan Gilligan. Oh, a big snap of oversteer contact between the two. Oh, and that is Archduke. He's not out, but that front wing is busted off. I don't know how that front suspension is still attached on that Aston Martin. And Dan Gilligan speeding in the pit lane as he came in, likely to fix up some damage. So unfortunate for Dan Gilligan there.
Turn 17 is causing all sorts of problems. And meanwhile, up at the front, Zados and Coral are in a league of 2.
Now, Milo's having to do quite a lot of work to keep Lord Volk behind. I think he's just about got the straight line speed advantage. Lord Volk's got to get almost to within 2/10 on the exit, but he's got a very good run out of turn 7 and 8 using the slipstream. DRS open. Can he make the move past Milo? He's going to go to the outside. Milo defends to the inside. Late on the brakes are both of them. Milo's sweeping to the apex, and it looks like Milo's just about got this one covered off this time around.
This is excellent defense from Milo. This is really, really good. But there's still a long way to go. He's got 11 more laps to do. 10.5 laps more to do,
and
I would say.
The prospect of rain.
And the prospect of rain. At the front, Zados, I would describe this, it's almost like what I would call a Lewis Hamilton 2016 Brazil performance, where it's all kicking off behind him, but he's just safety car restart, pull out the gap lead. Meanwhile, Lord Volk going through with the DRS again. Can he get it slowed down? Into turn 17. This time it's done. And this time Milo has no answer.
He's going to get a chance to reattack, though, with this second dose of DRS. He was behind at the detection point. Is he going to send it up the inside of turn 1? He has a little look, gets in the mirrors of the AlphaTauri, but he is indeed going to hold position. A little bit further back, Pinachero and Gali are getting very close to each other as well, as they dice for the last couple of points paying positions. But now King Bart is getting involved with this duel with Milo and Lord Volk, as is Bananarama.
Well, King Bart, kind of from nowhere, has just reappeared in 5th position. Still has that 5-second time penalty to deal with, but Bananarama, actually, he's got some really good pace in that Alfa Romeo on those soft tyres right now. Turns out 4 stops by halfway is the way to go.
Turns out when the safety car bunches the field up a ton of times, it helps out as well. But Milo now reattacking, and you see just how much more overspeed that Milo can get. He's just about there, though, not quite close enough on the exit. Is he going to be able to close up enough? He's got to try and clear it, because as soon as King Bart gets any closer, any kind of attacking or defending move is going to open the door for King Bart to try and follow through. And you may find yourself losing 2-3 positions even to Bananarama, who is right in the mix there.
Milo was clumsy through the left right of 14 and 15 there, but he's just got so much straight line speed that King Bart can't get near him.
330 Ks before he hits the braking zone ahead of King Bart, just about getting it slowed down. Bananarama has got to get something done on those soft tires. They are about to hit a point where they start to fall off and have some trouble. They will start to lose their performance pretty significantly. It looks like Pinachero and Gali still staying line astern. Nothing really changing for them in this one.
We are on lap 21 of 29. We're approaching the latter stages of this race. It is overcast. It is grey. Will the heavens open and throw one more spanner in the works for Zados, who leads this race? He's led every single lap of this race for Red Bull. But it might get into spicy territory yet. We've got 8 laps to go. And there's still a huge fight going on over P3. And this big fight going on over P8 and P9 as well. We are currently looking at Milo, who is chasing Lord Volk once again. He's dropped King Bart now by a second. King Bart's lost that DRS. Penichiero's now got Gali as they came through turn 7.
Gali's struggling a little bit in this race. He did have that half spin, is still inside the points. So as King Bart picks up an extra 3 seconds of time penalties for, I would assume, clattering over the curbs a bit through this Mickey Mouse section. But look at Gali almost pushing the Aston Martin into that first corner, has to back out significantly, and is actually going to look like he's going to lose DRS this time from getting a little too aggressive in following in that section. It's so easy to lose time there.
Clone Richie, having made 6 pit stops, is now in the points because this is FRS, and yeah, sometimes it gets weird around here. But he's actually got a bit of pace on those 16-lap-old mediums that I'm surprised he's on, having made that many pit stops. Seems to be catching up to Gali anyway.
So now one little interesting wrinkle. The top 4 drivers have yet to make a pit stop. They still
yes, they must stop at some points. That's actually a very good point. If it doesn't rain, we're now into a scenario where you say, well, can Bananarama go to the end on those soft tires? Surely not. There's another, like, 7 laps to put on those things.
I don't think those will get to the end. Now, you're looking at a position where Stark is just about inside the penalty window because King Bart is carrying 8 seconds of time penalties. Stark has made their requisite pit stop of this race.
But he's on old mediums.
And is in the pit window of all the leaders. So, if all the leaders come in to stop, Bananarama has to stop. There's no way they get those softs to the end without them going kaboom.
It's kind of weird, isn't it? Because Zados, on one hand, doesn't want it to rain. But on the other hand, kind of wants it to rain.
There's a chance, an outside chance, admittedly, that Stark may win this race. The mediums can just about get to the end. They will be in tough shape, depending on how hard he's pushed them.
If it comes down with even a little bit of rain, Stark is just going to be slip sliding his way to an accident at high speed, I imagine.
This is going to get very interesting in the last couple of minutes because, according to the weather update, we are now at about the 5-minute mark to rain.
Oh, lordy. I reckon around lap 27. That's my call. Round lap 27, it's going to start getting spicy in here. None of them can really pit because they all sort of know it's coming. So even those who are on 9-lap-old hard tires have kind of got to see this out. Is Ark in a good spot here? At the back of the queue? That's Clone Richie.
It looks like it's just a spinner. I don't see any chunks of front wing sitting on the ground. He's moving once again, so I think we're just about okay, but Zados...
What I'm asking is, Ark is 23 seconds to the leader. I can see rain. I'm on board with Milo. I can see rain.
There is indeed, as we jump on with Dr. Zados, who is also doing quite a bit of sliding.
So Ark's on 6-lap mediums. Archie Gargano's on the intermediates already, but it is starting to rain.
Who blinks?
What do you do? Remember, there's no runoff here. For the most part, it's a barrier.
And already, Zados
first?
is very tentative on the throttle already. So
you don't... I mean, old hards in this scenario? No thanks. Coral pits.
DRS disabled. Coral...
it's wet. If DRS is disabled, it's intermediate tire time.
Coral, Milo, King Bart, Bananarama all into the pit lanes. Lord Volk and Dr. Zados have stayed out.
So has Zados made a huge error here? He'd just gone past the pits when we got the DRS disabled. Everyone else is in the pits.
I think Coral and Milo have called it just about perfect. Stark is in, Gali is in.
No, Coral's almost spun on the exit of the pit lane. He just kept that out of the barrier. But how much pace is he going to have? Zados will surely box this lap.
We'll grab the leader gap and we'll keep an eye on what Coral is doing compared to the cars ahead. Ruprath has gone through, stayed out on those soft tires.
Is it into time already? You can see the rain on the external cameras coming down now. Zados is struggling. He had about 3 seconds in his pocket, but he's lost about half a second to Coral on this lap already. It's really slippery out the back end of the circuit. But Zados, to be fair, Coral's not making up a lot of time.
Now it's about even Stevens on the straights. This is really going to be the telltale point. How Coral gets through this little Mickey Mouse section of the track, and he's already taken over a half second out through a couple of corners.
Yeah, okay, so Coral's now gained about a second. Now Coral's starting to make the difference on the intermediate tires. But Zados is near the pit lane, and he seems to have made it round. Just get it slowed down and don't speed.
Exactly, and he is into the pit lane. There's no speeding in the pit lane warning come up for him. We'll stay on with Coral. We will see how they go into this final sector. It's going to be pretty close on the pit exit, I would think.
Lord Volk is in as well. Zados has now had his stop. He's trundling down the pit lane now. Zados is about to go to the speed limit line. Coral's just coming down the start finish right now. It's going to be so close between the front two. Zados at the pit exit. He's going to get out in the lead. Dr. Zados retains the lead for Red Bull, but the gap is around a second, and Coral has one lap of experience on the intermediates.
And Milo has come out just ahead of Lord Volk, so has slightly undercut. Coral has eaten about 2 seconds into the lead of Dr. Zados, and Zados is now having to warm these tires up, and you can see just Coral is just getting into the corner a little better. Although look at
there's
Zados
0.6 of a second between those at the front, but of course there's no DRS now. It's intermediate conditions. So Coral's going to have to do it in the corners. Because I think Zados has got, he's got the straight line speed, but Coral's so much later on the brakes as they come down. This is the top two in the championship fighting it out, and Zados really needs this victory.
And it's not just about the tire warm-up and all that. Coral's got a lap of experience already on the intermediate tires. He's already done a lap, knows what to expect. The knowledge is very helpful. Although Zados has gotten a very good launch out of that final sector there, so he's gained some good chunk of time down the street.
Bananarama is now P5, and Clone Richie's still only one place outside the points, despite having made his 7th pit stop.
Well, Bananarama has made 5, so Alfa Romeo really getting their pit stop crew the money worth.
There'll be some sore arms in the Alfa Romeo garage this evening, but Zados seems to have this under control right now. We have got 4 laps to go.
Stark and Pinachero are fighting down into turn 17. Looks like there may have been a little bit of wheel banging. Stark trying to get into P7. Milo just about 6/10 ahead of Lord Volk, so it's holding pretty even Stevens between them after coming out. Coral just now about a second back, so looks like Zados may have gotten up to speed just in time to hold off the charging Coral. Of course, only a couple of laps left to go in this race. And it does look like the rain will persist to the end.
Yeah, now, of course, one driver who we know has been good on the intermediate tires so far this season has been Lord Volk in the Alpha Tauri, who, as we watch Penachiro and Stark have a moment there through 4 and 5 and 6. That's a good fight, but Lord Volk, right up on the back of Milo. Coral is right up on the back of Zados as well. It's all on for the lead of the race.
Milo close to Lord Volk there seems to be just about holding about a half a second and trundling through this tough little middle section. Coral looks to have gotten a decent run, but again, that concertina effect. Zados just kind of stretching their legs on the exit of the corner. And I think Stark is starting to pull a little bit of a gap to Pinachiro. It's pretty close between them too. So several positions still to fight for in this one. And the other thing to look out for is Stark teetering right at that 3-second margin with King Bart, who has served that 5-second speeding in the pit lane, but does have that track limit. So Stark could be on for another position if he can stay within 3 seconds of King Bart.
Lord Volk would like a podium here because he's trying to stay in touch with Zados and Coral. It looks really in Division 2 like it's going to be a 2-horse race for the title between the Red Bull and the McLaren. But Milo and Lord Volk fighting over that best of the rest title here. Milo's defense today has been so good.
And to show up with very little practice and just drive the way he's done, he's shown very good racecraft throughout this entire race. And
I mean, I assume he must have driven Miami like in a different league or something, because if he didn't know the circuit, this would be insanely good. Moment there for Lord Volk. He's run wide, lost a lot of time.
And that's what it could all come down to. Stark still teetering right on that 3-second margin. Bananarama and King Bart into turn 7 and 8. King Bart going to try and get that position, and he's going to make a little bit more work for Stark to do to try and take that spot away. And I think King Bart's just about got it done, but Bananarama not going away just yet. Side by side through this left-hand sweeper. Bananarama's just ahead. Will King Bart send it on the brakes? No, he's tucked into the slipstream this time. He's gotten very close. Wide is Bananarama. It's going to switch to the inside, though, so he's going to be able to hold off. Can King Bart go around the outside? Not quite. It's been very close between these two. And that has cost actually quite a bit of time to Stark. They're duking it out, so Stark is really hoping this fight continues. And oh, King Bart climbing over the curbs is getting up the inside of Bananarama. Almost had an opportunity to make a move there.
It feels like the Alfa Romeo's just got so much more straight line speed. And of course, the other thing they're all having to contend with here is this is intermediate conditions. Look at the gap that Bananarama's pulled just on that back straight. But they're all having to contend with these conditions with very, very little downforce.
Yeah, I'm sure drivers were looking at the timings. If it stayed green flag racing, we probably would have finished this race without reaching the rain. But now we've gone with a few safety cars and we're into it. But penultimate lap, Coral contending for the race win here with Dr. Zados. It's as close as it's been.
It's so close. I think Zados has made a mistake. Something's happened here. And Coral is right up behind him and looking to take advantage. Here we go down the back straight. We're on boards. Watching from Coral's perspective here. As we go down the back straight, he's not quite got the straight line speed. He's right up behind Zados, but he's not close enough into the braking zone. Zados seems to have it covered in a straight line. The Red Bull a little wide of the apex, but Coral is right in play. One mistake from Zados, and this is going to be Coral's race.
It's very close between the two. Lord Volk still trying to find a way past Millo. Millo has lost 8 seconds to the leaders, but is managing to hold Lord Volk at bay. How can the release off of this corner can Coral get? He's in the slipstream. I would assume both drivers are running pretty low on battery at this point after attacking and defending constantly. Stark is actually in a position to maybe make a move on Bananarama as well. We'll keep an eye with the lead.
He'll be crying out for the DRS. We got one lap to go here in Miami, and the top two in the championship are nose to tail. Coral's dying for the DRS to be available, but of course, without the rain, he wouldn't really be in this position. It was Zados who went the extra lap. Zados has gone wide at turn one. He's gone deep into turn one. He's had to recover to the circuit. Coral is going to be all over the back of him now.
There's going to be some maximum pressure through this middle sector. But it looks like Zados has just about got it calmed down and back on track. Can he get this race win done? Coral just trying to find, willing another mistake. Is it a little bit wide of the exit? There is Zados again. Well, he seems to just get the power down out of that corner.
Yeah, Zados. Remember, Coral leads this championship by 26 points from Zados. Zados, with only 4 races to go after this one, he needs this win. We're on board with Coral down the back straight. Is he going to throw it to the inside? No. Coral can probably afford a P2 here. He doesn't need to get into trouble over this one. Just trying to force the Red Bull into a mistake. He's going to have one more opportunity, you feel, down the back straight, but we know how quick that Red Bull is in a straight line. Zados was so fast in qualifying. So patient through here. Bananarama and Stark are fighting in the background, but Zados has got the traction down, and surely if he gets it stopped, if he can just get it stopped into turn 17, that's going to be enough.
It looks like he's just got about enough nose ahead. Stark has picked up a track limits penalty. He's gone over, I think, in the Mickey Mouse section there, has gotten just side by side with the Bananarama.
So Zados has got the final corner. It's going to be enough for the Red Bull driver. Dr. Zados across the line to win the Miami Grand Prix for Red Bull. That was a phenomenal drive from the German. Coral has to settle for second today. It's still on between Millo and Lord Volk. Millo gets a podium as Volk spins across the line to take P4. King Bart's going to lose out, I think. Is he? No, he's got the 3-second gap because of that fight between Stark and Bananarama. Bananarama will be 6th. Stark 7th. Penachiro in 8th. Garley and unbelievably, Clone Richie, having made 7 pit stops in this race, gets a point.
If that's not the most FRS thing I've ever seen, it's up there. A 7-stop race to a point.
Alfa Romeo made 12 pit stops, and they come home
at a double
with
point
a 6th
finish.
and a 10th.
12 pit stops and a double points finish. What an interesting way to finish this one.
200 IQ play from Alfa Romeo today, but nobody could stop Dr. Zados. And, I mean, that was a deserved victory. He was dominant.
Absolutely, in all the conditions, absolutely handled what he needed to do. Every single restart got the job done. And, well...
Led every single lap.
Whew, that was
You
quite
can't
a
say
race.
more than that. Almost blew it into turn 1 on the final lap. A little bit deep. It gave Coral the opportunity. But, I mean, Zados able to breathe a sigh of relief in the end. Kept his head together. Just hit all of his braking points for the rest of the lap. And comes away with the victory today. And a great podium as well, it must be said, for Milo in the Mercedes. Popping in at the very last minute with no practice. Borrowing a setup from the rest of the team. And coming away with a podium. That is excellent, excellent stuff. So Dr. Zados, your winner today for Red Bull. From Coral and Milo on the podium. Lord Volk has to settle for 4th. And King Bart came through from 15th on the grid up to P5, despite a few penalties.
Yeah, what
might have been for the Alpine?
And you know, Gali got caught up in that melee as well on the that half spin, and you know, was running in podium positions. You know, Gali has shown some very good pace all season and has just had those small moments of bad luck. He moved over, was competing with Zados in PC Division 3, and all it just comes down to is the little breaks here and there. And you're looking at that kind of difference. But a good drive from both of the Alpines. King Bart getting on the grid and driving very well. Lord Volk showing his pace in the damp conditions, continuing to be a very, very good driver there.
Yeah, it was Bananarama, Stark, and then it was Penachiro, Gali, and Clone Richie rounding out the points on what was a very entertaining. It was less. I mean, there was a little bit of shambolic stuff going on there. There was a little bit of shambles, but it was maybe less shambolic than the Division 3 race we covered earlier on. But very, very good race for the championship. It's kind of the result we needed. It's not like we're sort of anti-Coral here, but just in terms of keeping the championship alive, that win for Zados reduces the deficit by, well, what will it be? It'll reduce it by 7 points. So it'll go down to a 19-point deficit with 4 races to go. And we've got a little bit of a break. It's 2 weeks, I think, before the next round at the Hungaroring.
Yeah, definitely going to be another interesting circuit, another one that can see its fair share of rain and weather, but it's another technical track and, you know, easier to overtake in the game than it does in real life, so it's still a fun circuit to drive. We will see. It's not one that's been on the FRS calendar very much. Basically, the entire second half of the season is kind of the newbies to FRS, aside from Brazil, which is almost always the season finale. Has only not been the season finale in 2 occasions. Once when it was the season opener, and then last season when Austria and Brazil had to be swapped for PC because of a delayed round. But still, Hungaroring, Abu Dhabi, and Australia all coming up. So 2 new reprofiled circuits to go with the Hungaroring. So looking forward to seeing how it plays out in the final couple of rounds here.
Fair to say as well, things have been a little heated in the Discord server so far. So just hoping that everyone takes 5 minutes, just gets themselves calmed down, and then we'll come back, and I'm sure the stewards will have their say over all the various incidents from that race. But it's about time for us to wrap it up. I think it's been a decent shift from us this evening at Quimbulus here on FRS Motorsports.
Yeah, just about a little over 3 hours. Started, just before noon my time, and it's just before 3 p.m. So the doubleheader still went well. Luckily, PC3 got done just in the nick of time for us to make the quick swap to PC2. And now I will very much enjoy this break week.
Indeed. Well, I don't know about yourself, but I am off to go and watch the IndyCar finale that I've got recorded and I've not seen. So that will keep me entertained for the rest of this evening. And then we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time at the Hungaroring. So we will see you all then.